The MCU's multiverse is a mess. Nope, I'm not dilly-dallying around this time, let's get straight to the point. The multiverse saga has been full of the occasional up and many downs, but at the end of the day, after all the cool stuff has gone down and everything is done and dusted, when we reflect on the multiverse saga the MCU has given us, it's an absolute disaster, like you've never ever seen. And this isn't another one of those blindly hateful videos that you see on the MCU. No, this is genuinely a video discussing and pointing out the plot holes and inconsistencies in the MCU's multiverse. And don't just think I'm coming for Disney, I'm coming for Sony too. Yeah, don't think you get away with this either. But before we get into that, I just want to make one thing very, very clear. For the people that will comment and say that we're watching a Marvel movie where the literal impossible is possible in every sense of the word, bad writing and inconsistencies in the technical aspects of the universe is not acceptable. I know we're watching a franchise dedicated to superheroes, but man, they have to make sense at least. At least stick with your own laws if you want to make something a multi-character universe. Anyway, with that said, let me start with the first massive hole: Loki. Loki is great. I love Loki. I think it's one of the better things Phase 4 has to offer, but when you really think about it, Loki makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so we learned that by the end of Loki, the entire MCU, up to the point of Loki and Sylvie reaching Kang, was all a part of a timeline constructed and confined to the way Kang and the TVA see fit. This was to stop the timeline branching out into different directions and thus stopping other versions of Kang rising to power and causing a massive multiversal war. As Kang explains in the show, this has happened before, so this version of Kang is trying to stop this from happening again to try and maintain peace within the multiverse. Okay, cool, that's great, but this is where it gets messy. Sylvie kills Kang, which splits the multiverse. Okay, great, so that means that the multiverse is now accessible to the MCU, right? Well, that'd work if Doctor Strange didn't transcend and learn about the multiverse beforehand. And before you say, well, people still knew about the multiverse, it's just that the TVA kept cutting off branching timelines. Well, if Kang has full control over the timeline and has the power to literally cut off branching timelines, how the hell does the Ancient One show Doctor Strange the multiverse when there isn't one even to show? She even exclaims that she knows for a fact that this universe is one of infinite.
This universe is only one of an infinite number.
Are you sure about that?
Okay, let's take a step back a minute. Maybe Loki only branches the quote-unquote MCU timeline. After all, we got What If, which are episodes dedicated to showing various different outcomes of the MCU, which I assume are all part of the branches that were created by Loki. At least that's what they seem to be intended to be. Which potentially means that the multiverse isn't just the branches that are created inside of Loki, the multiverse could be outside of the MCU timeline, if that makes any sense. Like, for example, somewhere in the multiverse, you'd have a timeline where Tobey and Andrew's version of Spider-Man exists. You'd also have the Fox X-Men universe. And this kind of matches up with my theory, because What If resembles a universe really closely to what the MCU was previously. However, the X-Men universes and the two Spider-Man universes are so vastly different from the MCU, they could be an entirely different timeline altogether. Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man who have lived lives nor events that resemble anything like Tom's version of the character. They also look nothing like Tom, when other variants from the multiverse look like their MCU counterparts. Okay, great, so we've solved it. Not quite. The issue is now is that no matter what Kang does to keep the MCU timeline intact, he would then still have to worry about Kangs coming from the grander multiverse or other timelines where Kang potentially exists, which renders his plan pretty much useless and unhelpful. Not to mention that the entire idea of the MCU being one timeline which was always meant to happen and was always meant to be kind of takes away the spectacle. So you're telling me that that one chance in 4 million in Avengers Endgame was meant to happen? Or the fact that Peter Parker was randomly bitten by a spider? Guess not anymore. This idea that Kang orchestrated the entire MCU as we knew it up to that point meant so many things were rendered obsolete. So as discussed, Loki already introduced way too many questions with not enough answers, and we're only one multiverse project in. Goddamn. But we ain't even to the worst part yet. Let's move on to Spider-Man No Way Home. No Way Home is a great movie. I love it. but the plot holes are some of the worst I've ever seen. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the obvious. What in the actual madness is Electro doing here? So the idea is that people who know Peter's identity are brought to the MCU because of the spell that Doctor Strange performs that goes wrong. Okay, right, that's great. But why is Electro there? We also learn that this spell can take people that know this information from any point in time from any universe, as Doc Ock and Green Goblin and Sandman all come from the Raimi universe from different points in time. So this could explain why Electro was there if he found out Peter's identity later in the TASM universe. But the Electro that we meet in the film has no clue who Spider-Man is until the end of the movie. So this movie is already broken, but there's more. We know that at the end of the film, when the spell is broken, multiple people that know Spider-Man's identity are slowly slipping into the MCU. However, in the initial incident when the spell goes wrong, why is it that it's conveniently these 8 people that come to the MCU? How does that happen? So, I made a list of every known live-action person that knows Peter's identity as Spider-Man from the Raimi and Webb films, and randomly generated 8 people from that list. Here is that list. I don't think I missed anyone, but if I did, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, one quick thing I want to mention. I know Carnage and Riot are both in here with Venom, but it is revealed that Venom knows Spider-Man because of some kind of quote-unquote hive knowledge. Please do not ask me how that works. So I threw Riot and Carnage in there as well, as technically they'd also know of Spider-Man's existence. This makes sense since the symbiotes act as a hive. They'd all share knowledge with each other, therefore if Venom knew Spider-Man from crossing the multiverse before, or another symbiote encountering him somewhere, then Carnage and Riot theoretically would also know of his existence. And then after randomizing it, the first 8 we got were these. Goddamn, those kids on the train were so close to coming to the MCU. And yes, I'm counting someone who has seen Peter's face as knowing who he is. With some simple digging, you could literally put 2 and 2 together and find out that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. It's that easy. And as you can see, from the movies alone, this would not conveniently be the main 5 villains and the 2 Spider-Men that showed up. But that's not it. In the scene where everyone is breaking through, we see other characters such as Kraven suggesting that there's other characters that know Spider-Man's identity from other universes in the multiverse. And if that's the case, then how the hell did we conveniently get characters from these 2 universes in the first place? Well, the spell only fractured the multiverse, so it's possible that the spell only affected those 2 universes. Balls, mate, and you know it is. It's inconsistency, they're extremely bad plot holes that for some reason we just have to ignore. Yeah, mental. And don't get me started on Sony. But if you want to hear my thoughts on that, then you'll have to wait till next week for part 2. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you enjoyed, and make sure to subscribe so you can stay tuned for part 2 next Monday, where we discuss Sony's tyrannical involvement and the righteous multiverse of absolute madness. Also guys, we're so close to 20,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate it if we could get there before Christmas, so make sure to share my channel around, or if you haven't already, subscribe because it would really help me out a lot. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care, and peace.